Welcome back. I'm Rebekah.
And I'm Gabe, and welcome to the Rhythms for Life podcast. And we have one of our
Favorites.
special guests, friend for 2 decades, plus like
Plus,
25 years.
Yes.
Almost 3.
Jon
We're
Tyson.
that old.
Jon Tyson, ladies and gentlemen. He's
Yes.
with us, and we were just kind of laughing together because I was asking him, he lives in New York City, but how many people have you recruited to New York City? Because Rebekah and I
know.
were part of
we
that.
were recruited in 2007. We got there in 2010.
That's right.
So it took about 3 years.
It was a 3-year journey.
But he was very persuasive.
Those were the glory days of recruiting. It was the city had gotten safe. People were thinking about post-suburban megachurch ministry. It was a very, very special season where people were willing to come, take an adventure, take a risk. You know? So you might have been my crown jewel of recruiting.
Well, we had our 3 little ones.
Oh,
and,
man. I
mean,
remember they were all in that Sunday school room, like of all
Yeah,
ages.
yes.
And this was like their favorite. I mean, it was like your wife just made it like Disneyland.
Yes.
I mean, they loved every part of it. I remember those early days because it was a smaller plant on the Upper East Side where we were. I would just cry like the whole time in the back row, and I'd have to go like fix myself before it was done. And it was so sweet because the Spirit was so palpable, and because we had walked out of something that was just very different, it was so refreshing.
Yeah, that was in the Czech Republic Art Gallery,
Yes.
the National
Yeah.
Ballroom in the
Yeah.
Art Gallery,
Yeah.
which at the time was the most secular country on earth.
Wow.
So it felt amazing
Yeah.
to have this secular country hosting a church plant in the Upper East Side, which is one of the most under-resourced neighborhoods with church plants in New York City.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
I know.
So
We're actually
sweet.
going back there this Easter.
Really?
Yep,
Bohemian
we're-
National Hall?
No,
Yeah.
we're going back to a big synagogue.
Oh,
so we're in
wow.
a Jewish synagogue on the Upper West Side, and then we're going back to, it's called Temple Israel. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, amazing.
What's
it.
changed in New York in 15 years since we moved there? Like, I know you love the city, but from the outside, it seems there's just dramatic shifts. Like crime is up, and it just doesn't feel as safe. Like, but you live there, and I know sometimes these headlines always blast that, but when you're there, you're like, no, mate, it's fine, it's great. But how are
The
you?
truth is, whenever something happens in New York, people call me or text and they're like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Man, that was like an hour and a half away in Brooklyn."
Yeah.
I mean, it's quicker for me to go to Philadelphia than to where that happened.
Right.
It is so big. It's such a spread out city. You know, New York will always be New York, which means it will always be changing. I live just below Central Park. I go into the park, it's the same as it was. It's better than it was 20 years ago. I tell you what is different, though, is how phones have changed the city.
Yeah.
It used to be a hyper-local city. So if you lived in the Upper West Side or if you lived in the Upper East Side, if you lived in Midtown, these were very distinct identities. Then you sort of had the suburbanization of New York. Everything became a T-Mobile store and a Duane Reade. You know, it all just everything, just that homogenous stuff. All the little mom and pops stuff got shut out. Then on top of that, you put social media. So what I really feel is the age and technology difference. The city in many ways is the same, but how people navigate the city, very, very different. You remember there was no Uber when you were in New York.
It just started our last year. I remember
so-
taking one to the airport in like 2014, 15, something like that.
So you know what it's like. It's pouring with rain. You've got 2 kids in your arms. You're trying to hold an umbrella and you're praying for a taxi.
Yeah.
That was that sense of serendipity, of unplanned moments you can't control.
Right.
For the most part, it's been lost.
Yeah.
It's all just app-driven and on your schedule.
Yeah.
I don't mind some of that, but it is.
Yeah.
I do have a little nostalgia for the local days.
And has that changed even interaction on subways or trains or walking because everyone's
Now there's
looking
Wi-Fi
down?
on the subways, right?
That was so sad. You need it for safety, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. But yeah, it's changed people's social interactions. People have always had headphones on in New York.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then kids are always on their phones. I mean, this is a heads down generation. And so you've got so many kids on their phones. If you were to go to a restaurant, you would not see kids interacting with each other directly. You would see them interacting through their phones with one another. The phone is the mediating device. So there's someone showing something on TikTok and then everybody gathering around and they're just showing clips to each other. It's a very different experience.
Yeah.
So you and Christy have been married 27 years.
Yes.
2 children.
Yep.
And tell us just a little bit about marriage life in a city, in that kind of an environment, versus what you've perceived of your friends, many who don't live in cities.
Yeah.
What's been different, maybe more difficult and challenging, and maybe more life-giving to literally just be immersed in a city and in an urban culture?
Well, it's the same thing that makes it great and makes it hard. It's everything the same. And if I could sum it up in one word, it's pressure. The pressure forces you together, but the pressure can drive you apart. Mm-hmm. When we moved to the city, it was pressure drove us apart. I was 28, Christy was 26. It was our first time really being adults. We had been in church plants, but we had great mentors. This was our first time being senior leaders, senior pastors. And we had this really heavy realization. We got married really young in college. And the realization was like, I don't think I like you. And if I'd known who you were going to be, I don't think I would have married you. And we have this definitive bench on Riverside Drive where Christy sort of said, I hate you. And if it wasn't for Jesus, I wouldn't stay with you.
Wow.
It's because the city drew the worst out of me. Ambition, workaholism, striving. And it put the pressure on her. All of her sort of like childhood wounds and triggers were all animated, and they pulled us apart. That was so. We've had the heaviest. By the way, at that time, the church was blowing up, growing, thriving. It was amazing. Of course. So, like, I was dying. The church was living.
Wow.
But because we were Christians, it's sort of like a cage fight, which is if you lock the door and you say there's no divorce here, there's no grounds for divorce, like you got to work it out.
Right.
Most of the research shows within 5 years, unhappy marriages 80% turn into happy marriages if the couple stays together. So we just ground it out, and that the pressure pushed us apart. It pushed us to Jesus, and a year later it was a different marriage.
Yeah.
And so I think we're living in a lot of honestly, in many ways, the success and ease of the ministry environments we were in. We had a lot of favor. Things had gone really well. And then when all of that was stripped away and it was just two young folks working out who they are in Jesus and dealing with their past.
Yeah.
It pushed us apart. It pushed us together. It would be that times 20 years of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the hardest thing. Our apartment's 478 square feet. It's tiny. When we first moved there, it was 520 square feet with 2 kids, 2 roommates, and two dogs. I mean, it was just insane.
I remember
would make
touring up
rooms.
there.
You would make room.
I was like,
Yeah,
is
just
that
put
a
a
bed?
wall-
Is that like a triple decker bed happening?
Can you put a wall in? Put a wall in. Yeah. Is that a closet? That's a bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there was no wing that you could go off to for privacy. So there was a lot of great family dynamics that came out of that we really appreciated. We really love that today. So I think New York's one of those places where if you choose to enjoy it, like my wife said to me yesterday, 'cause I'm in a pretty busy season the last couple of weeks. My parents are here for 3 months. She said to me right before I left, she said, don't forget to date your wife this fall. Don't forget to date me. New York is the most amazing place to date your wife. We live above a jazz club. Last night I was trying to get to bed and I could hear the bass coming through the wall. It's so great at most times. But there's so many restaurants, places, traditions you can create. So if you want to take advantage of dating each other and having fresh experiences that are accessible within a walk or a quick Uber ride, it can be an amazing place for your marriage if you choose to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So there's so many good things about it.
What I hear is that you guys, you came to that breaking point, right? Like we have no option. We cannot ignore this. We cannot avoid this. We don't like each other. But to take walking, running off the table, which we, as believers, it should always be that way. But if there ever feels like a loophole or an out, then you are not forced to contend for something that God called good, right? That God ordained and anointed, and this covenant before Him. And I think that's a sticky point right there, right? If you have no other option but to turn toward God and one another, because otherwise you will just have the most miserable existence for the rest of your days, then it does force this kind of repair or repentance, this return to go like, well, we have no choice but to align and figure this out. How many couples do you counsel that take it that seriously, that walking is not even available?
Well, part of it is it's premarital. You know, we've got a lot of friends going through hard stuff. New York puts that pressure on not just us, but on almost everybody. You feel that.
We felt that. Yeah.
The buried stuff comes up.
That's right.
So my framework is impute meaning and make it great. You know, you've read all the research. There's no perfect person out there, man. You're marrying a sinner. There's going to be drama. It's going to come up. They're not who you thought they are, but you're not who they thought you were either.
Right.
So having Christ as the center of your marriage is really, really important. But if you give people a way out, they will take the way out. And this is the advice I wish someone had told me. Hey, man, you can be in an unhappy marriage and not divorce for a bit while you're working stuff out. Mm-hmm. We're so fed this myth of like bliss or bail. Like it's going to be amazing. And then when you get sick of that, you just get out and get back on that, try and find that wonder or excitement with someone else. No one had just said to me, hey, man, you're going to have some really hard years. And you know what you do in those hard years? Press into God and get through it.
Yeah.
Rebuild slowly, work on yourself. So I think we just figured that out. So I spend a lot of time telling people, you have no biblical grounds for divorce. So a lot of times it's like, well, I'm unhappy. It's like, hey, listen, man, welcome to the human condition.
Right.
We just live in a world because no-fault divorce is so easy in so many states. That in the back of your mind will open your heart to other people. You'll have emotional cheating. You'll start having a skewed. You will minimize the good traits of your spouse, maximize the bad ones, and then over here you will maximize and minimize the wrong traits. It's disastrous with that eye out there. So I just try and tell people, hey, close the cage, push through it. How can we support you in this? Work with your stuff, because if you bail because of stuff, you're just going to drag all that stuff you didn't work through into the next thing.
Right.
And they're going to drag their stuff. And the rates of divorce on the second marriage are disproportionately high a lot of times because people never work through it. So.
Right. Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, there you are with all your stuff.
Yeah.
We believe God puts two people together. Many times he's designed it so that your healing will come through that other person being an agent for that healing process that he wants to do through you. And you can either resist and run from that, or you can embrace it and just say, God, this is hard right now, but I know it's for my good.
Yeah.
And we're not going to believe the accuser's statement that you married the wrong person. They're never going to be happy. Right. All these little phrases that we're taught all the time, we can start to believe. And that to us becomes the destruction of the marriage. That covenant commitment, while you don't want to just be relying on that for your marriage, because we've also seen marriages that go 50 years and they just hate each other, right?
Joyless.
But it is that boundary that can force the work to happen.
Usually, the reason it becomes joyless is they stop talking. They just become roommates and they just kind of bury. So there isn't even potential for healing. Yeah. We have had that conversation many times because I'm so transparent. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You know exactly what I'm thinking or feeling at any given day. And I was like, this will be miserable if we don't like each other. I mean, just know that it is worth plunging the depths because it's either that or like have a miserable existence. And most people are like, I don't want to bail or be miserable, which means we must turn toward each other and let God do the healing work that he wants to do. Yeah. And I think the thing that we're kind of pressing into, whether it's marriage or any other very difficult thing that you can't escape, right? Like adversity without an end date. You know, for us, a lot that looks like being special needs parents our entire lives and adopting and bringing another one in. And yet that is where the gold is found. Like that, we were just talking about you off camera, hiking the El Camino and just like getting to the limits of like your capacity. And it kind of reminded me of what you were saying earlier about waiting for that cab that may never come, is like you are so dependent on a source beyond yourself in every way. And marriage is just another example of that. Like if you have no other option, you will have to yield. Like there's no other way to do it. When you talk to people in that space and how that looks, like I think for us, we've talked to a lot of people that go, you don't know my story, or this is a different circumstance, or it's really, honestly, this is a hard conversation to have, I think. Even for people in the church, even though for us it seems somewhat clear, I still find there's a lot of noise out there that would suggest otherwise. How do you manage that? How do you equip people for that?
I think one of the things you've got to do is you've got to invite God in. It was probably a year and a half ago. No, not even then. My life feels like every month feels like a year and a half. So it was sometime this year. I'm in a men's book study and a book called Iron John by Robert Bly. I don't know if you've read it, but he was sort of like the Jordan Peterson of the 90s, okay? And he's got this chapter on the naive man and the danger of being a naive man, what a naive man does, how he functions in the world. And I had this revelation. So I was wrestling with a bunch of things reading this book. It's such a great thing to dig up. It's sort of Jungian, poetic. It's great. It's not biblical, but it's great. Archetypal stuff. And in it, I sort of had this prompting, which was from the Spirit, ask me why I gave you your wife. I'd never, people say that all the time, but I'd never been like, Lord, show me what you are confronting in me through her. And it was all on this chapter of being a naive man.
Wow.
And it was such a potent experience. At the end of this chapter, I was in tears. Like I went to Christy and I was just like, thank you for marrying me. Thank you. I have risen as a man because of you. I am courageous where I'd be fearful. I am generous where I'd be selfish and And I just had this revelation. What Christy has done through her story has demanded things from me that a gentler woman would have let me get away with.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And to be married to a strong, I thought I wanted. She's like, you wanted to marry a charity church mouse. You wanted to go to a small Southern Bible college and get a girl who sung the altar call and played the piano, who would do whatever you want, and you would be a tyrant. And so God gave you a woman who will call you out. And the truth is, that's exactly right. And so the required, she's had a pretty rough background, a lot of abuse, a lot of heartache. That makes you discerning. And that doesn't make you, by default, you don't trust people. You're always looking for their motives. And, it turns out that's really helpful in New York.
Yeah.
So there's been all of these things that have, you cannot have a numb heart. I will not marry a man with a numb heart. Get in touch with your feelings and show them to me. These are all things that she's demanded of me. And I'm so grateful. So, I tell people, ask God. Show why in his providential care he has scooped you up in the same hand. Like he knows what he's doing,
Yeah.
So
It's beautiful.
In this culture, there's a lot of excuses people now are using, and I'm seeing even in the church that sometimes they're affirmed as good reasons for people to split up or get divorced. You're not going to want to answer this, but emotional abandonment, is this a reason for someone to get divorced?
I was praying this morning and I was like, Gabe's going to go ask you a hard theological question. I knew it. I knew it.
You're not going to want to answer this, so I'm going to ask.
It depends what you mean, and it depends if the person can be remarried because of it. So there's accounts where there's abandonment, life abandonment of some people. You would have
But
to
emotional.
define
Emotional's
Well,
not
it's all the
physical
same.
abandonment. It's the person would accuse the spouse of, hey, you're just not responding to my needs. You don't know how to talk to me. You don't connect with me. You're doing your own thing.
So
I think that gets described a lot as emotional abandonment.
Well, I would say this. It can be a devastating thing for the human heart.
Right.
To be in a covenant relationship with someone that you love and they withdraw from that. I mean, maybe outside of clergy abuse, which is the betrayal of sacred trust with power, this could be one of the most painful things a human heart could experience. So I don't want to jump to the quick theological controversial answer without taking into account the level of pain. There could be someone dying, pleading for love and not getting it. That is a very painful experience. I don't know. Maybe there's a continuum of levels of abandonment. Are they emotionally attaching to someone else? Is this an emotional affair that they've had? There would have to be a series of factors. I think my short answer would be no. I don't think you can walk away from that. Not biblically.
Yeah.
And the
I
church
agree with you. I don't think there's biblical grounds for it. I think in our current culture, people use that a lot, and even mental health's used a lot these days. Is, hey, my spouse's mental health
Issues, yeah.
She's got mental health issues, and I just think it's not good for our relationship. And all that's just becoming, in my view, too normative.
Well, part of the problem with the needs may be true, but the framework is wrong.
Right.
So the framework is lacking any sort of vertical understanding of what marriage is.
Yeah.
So it's not just a contract of mutual fulfillment.
That's right.
And then if the cost-benefit ratios are off, then you're out. God is in the marriage. This is a sign. This is pointing beyond yourself to Christ and the church. So you should fight harder for that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's almost like, obviously there's pain. There's a lot of pain, and the relief from that pain, especially if it's gone on for years, decades, whatever. And it's like almost hard to even imagine resurrection. But even walking with couples through that, like you said, the Holy Spirit can do anything, right? Like through the power of God, healing is possible. But I don't know that there's always a framework. Like as we did the studies of counselors, like licensed counselors, only about 15% of licensed counselors are marriage and family. So a lot of times different people will go to their own personal counselor and they'll work all that out. But it's not really turning them toward each other in relationship. It's just helping them kind of find healing individually, but that doesn't always turn them back towards the relationship, which is interesting because, again, the framework, like you said, if the needs are true, but the framework is off, then the framework is my healing individually and your healing individually still trumps us healing like collectively.
A good marriage plan is, if people have individual things they need to work through, is going to have the framing of how do I restore this whole life union, and then each of you is going to have an individual plan for your participation in that restoration.
Right.
It's such a challenge. If you've got these unmet needs, you're going to a counselor or a therapist. They're helping you individually. Your healing may subtly facilitate your emotional abandonment of the other person, meaning it's just triggering this. You've got to get that healing, but without that sort of shared framework,
Right.
I don't think that's healthy. Mental health issues. I'm dealing with some stuff right now that is like as heavy, just with people in our community, that is as heavy as anything I've ever encountered. And I've got a couple of friends where it's right on the brink. Is this going to work or not?
Yeah.
But the thing I love is the counselor is working with both of them individually.
Yeah.
They both have sub-counselors dealing with trauma and child issues. So that they have a team of people fighting together to make this work.
Yeah.
And it still may not work. There still may be too much damage and betrayal.
Right.
But I at least love that the whole thing is rallying with God, with a biblical framework, believing it can happen. I wish that was more normative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, and that, the sickness and health that you basically in your marriage ceremony, you claim that is part of that commitment. It has to apply, I think, to these areas, mental health, emotional health challenges. But I love your advice. I think that's what we have found is the wisdom. It's when the team is, or the counselor's committed to the marriage and you both are agreeing, like, we want to get healing so that we can be more unified.
Right.
That's
and it's not to ignore any individualized trauma because that does need repair, absolutely.
Yeah.
But as that is repaired, the whole support system around them is still turning them toward one another.
Yeah. I want to get some insight from you on rhythms because we talk a lot about rhythms. I mean, physical rhythms, how we eat, how we rest, how we renew. You're someone who lives in the midst of a city that's constantly buzzing. Yeah. It's hard to get rest in that city, but I've seen you always be so intentional to find ways, to find your pockets, to find, like relentlessly, you are going to find a way to be alone with God, to have time for yourself, your own thoughts. And so I think if you're able to do that in that city, all of us could benefit from hearing the way you have gone after that. So would you share with us just some of the rhythms that have been a part of your life that keep you sane, whole, renewed?
Sure. Dallas Willard has this very, very simple quote that says, we must arrange our ordinary lives where we find deep joy, contentment, and confidence in our relationship with God. That to me is the key. You have to, it's not, I want to live an ordinary life that is facilitating the flourishing of my soul and then not have to get into a season where I'm scrambling to catch up. So if one word would be intentionality. So it's I can't get beyond Stephen Covey's put the big rocks in first. I can't get beyond be proactive, not reactive. That stuff really formed me when I was actually living just down the street here in Franklin. So it's prioritize when you go to bed so that you can get up at the right time and spend time with God. Win the morning with God and you've won the day in your heart. I do a ton of that stuff. Know what gives you life. Like I literally wrote out a list, which is like stopping doing these things and doing more of these things because I want to enjoy God in my everyday life.
Yeah.
So I just went and showed these people. I was having dinner with my son and daughter-in-law last night, and I said, hey, you were the first relational thing on my list of what I want more of. I want more of you in my life. So if you get that in there, it gives you the sort of the joy strength to fend off the heartache, the spiritual warfare, that sort of stuff. So it would be daily time with God. It would be weekly Sabbath.
You still do walks? I mean, is that a big part of your...
I go to Central Park twice a day, man. I start my day in Central Park. Now I start my day in the dark in Central Park and I end my day. But I go there. I got to get into nature. So there's certain stuff I read every day. There's certain places I go every day. And
certain people that fill you up too, right? Like
they are, but most of them have left New York. It's such a tragedy. So it's a lot of digital catch up.
But like you said, though, even with your kids, like I want more of this, right? Like just anchoring that as a just regular thing.
The older you get, the more you realize the limitations of time. You know Gordon MacDonald, you know him. He's like 83 or 85 now. I was doing this pastors event with a group of pastors that I genuinely believed, hey man, I know you don't have a lot of time left on the earthly clock. Of that limited time, it is worth these guys. This is a very curated, strategic group of pastors. Can I get an hour? We'll come to you. And he wrote back really lovingly going, hey man, I'm sure these are the future of Western Christianity, but I'm hanging out with my granddaughter and she's better than all of you. And I just was like, that's it.
I know.
He just knew how to prioritize what we do in life. So putting those things in place. And then I think you've got to design a year. And you've got to figure out in each season what you need from that season. You guys lived in New York. Hey, my wife, my tragedy, I'm here doing this. Running an event this weekend. My wife's taking my parents apple picking. I hate to miss that.
Oh yeah, that's legendary up there for sure.
We've got a whole series of those anchors of the year, and I just fight for those. I so good. Fight for those, so that no matter how dark the season is or the week is on the horizon, every 90 days I take my wife to a great hotel for a weekend away. So no matter how much I've been gone or how much pressure there is or stuff happening in our world, she knows, you know, we're going to Hotel B or we're going up to Mohawk Mountain House or we're going somewhere epic together. So
it's beautiful.
At least there's that relief valve in the schedule multiple times a year.
And the fact that you just said you just did this the other day, like you wrote a list of priorities that need to shift a little. And I think that's really important because we all have good intentions and we'll have a good run, but over time, life pulls us in directions that we don't really realize we're starting to drift. And so this taking inventory practice, we talk a lot about almost every quarter, we kind of go, what's right, wrong, confused, and missing, right? We do need to tweak because we are like sheep who go astray. Sometimes we just forget. It's not that we don't value it, but we slowly, you know, have other things that are emergencies and they pull us from the things we want the most. How does that look for you? Like to continue repeat that?
Yeah, one little thing that I don't know if I've heard anybody else talk about this, but this is one little exercise I do that's been really helpful, which is like you've got to know your season, you've got to name your season, and you've got to know where in that season you are. So if it's like, hey, at the start of spring in New York, you're so full of hope, it's been so cold for so long, and then so at the start of it, you've got fresh fuel, but at the end of it, you could be tired. And so I always do that. What do I need from this? What season am I in? What do I need from it? And where am I in it? Because I can be exhausted and know, hey, I can sense a new season's coming. We were talking offline. I turn 50 next year. I'm making a bunch of massive pivots at 50. I'm working hard right now. I mean, insanely hard. I've preached 12 times this week in 3 different states.
And it's only Friday.
With joy.
With
joy. Because I will never do this again. And so everyone's like, how do you do it? I'm like, I'm not doing this forever. This is not a lifestyle, man.
Right.
In January, this will wrap up. Between January and May, I'm going to make a bunch of preparations for the next season. I'm going to take my first sabbatical of my life and come back and live a different life. So this is not my lifestyle, but because I know I'm coming to the end of a distinct season, I can get through it. So that stuff's helpful for me.
That's good. Okay,
so
real quick before we wrap up, you said you read some things every day. I know Thomas Merton, Andrew Murray, those are favorites of ours. Anything else you'd add to the list that are just the little things that you're like, I like a piece of that every day?
So I'm currently reading through the entire canon of Andrew Murray. So I love that.
So good.
I mean,
honestly,
but why he's so good.
You can just return to him year after year.
What I love about it, so I'm after historical revival, and he saw it. So I want to read profound theology from someone who's encountered what I'm after. That's why I love Andrew Murray. It's not just because his stuff on humility is good. He has seen the fruit I want on my tree, and he wrote out of it, I want that. And he's dead. And so dead people who finish without scandal are great to read. I'm always trying to read something for the heart, like just my spirit. There's nothing else, just to build my spirit. I'm always trying to read like a pastoral book, and I'm always reading a sociological book.
Yeah.
That stuff's life-giving for me.
Yeah,
And then
me
if
too.
I could give everyone a little book recommend, if you're low in theology and you need theological supplements, Concise Theology by J.I. Packer is my go-to.
Okay.
Well, good to know.
That's great.
Yep.
Good
Love it.
fun.
The, you heard it here. I mean, the book recommendations from this guy are vetted. Trust me.
I've read thousands. Well, Jon, thank you for joining us and
Yeah.
just letting us a little more into your marriage, your world, your life, your kids, all that's going on.
Yeah.
We love you. We're
So good to see
thankful
you.
for you.
And can I just say one thing about you guys? You've got an audience of people who love you. But I just want to say it's been a joy watching your marriage. I remember when you were pregnant with Kate. I remember the whole journey you've been on. You have fought for one another. You have worked it out. You've been all over the map. And as much as people love your content, I just want to affirm you have lived it and fought for it. So I'm grateful for your journey and your witness to the world.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah.
Nothing like lifelong friends.
Yeah.
Grateful for you, Christy.